This video will cover difficult part 1 questions regarding the topic of derivatives trigonometric functions. This is the first question. Y equals tangent x squared plus 2x cubed to the power of 4. Use the general power rule. Think of it as u equals tangent x squared plus 2x to the power of 3. So y equals u to the power of 4. Then dy dx equals dy du dx. This means 4u cubed times u prime. So y prime equals 4u cubed times u prime. Keep the inner function tangent x squared plus 2x cubed tangent x squared plus 2x cubed. Then 4 tangent x squared plus 2x cubed to the power of 3 times. Now u equals x squared plus 2x cubed. So tangent u prime equals secant squared u times u prime. Back to the original. Secant squared u times u prime. The inner function is x squared plus 2x to the power of 3, x squared plus 2x to the power of 3 equals 4 tangent cubed x squared plus 2x cubed times secant squared x squared plus 2x cubed times. Now u equals x squared plus 2x. Think of it as u to the power of 3. Then u to the power of 3 prime equals 3u squared times u prime. The inner function is x squared plus 2x, x squared plus 2x. 4 times 3 equals 12 tangent cubed x squared plus 2x cubed secant squared x squared plus 2x cubed times x squared plus 2x squared times x squared prime equals 2x plus 2x prime equals 2. Then 2x plus 2 equals 2 times x plus 1. The final answer is 12 times 2 equals 24 tangent cubed x squared plus 2x cubed secant squared x squared plus 2x cubed x squared plus 2x squared times x plus 1. Number 2, think of it as u equals cosine of tangent square root of x. Then if u equals cosine of tangent square root of x, then d dx sine u equals cosine u times u prime. Y prime equals cosine u times u prime. Keep the inner function cosine of tangent square root of x, cosine of tangent square root of x. Then cosine of tangent square root of x times. Now u equals tangent square root of x. So cosine u prime equals minus sine u times u prime. The inner function is tangent square root of x, tangent square root of x equals minus cosine of tangent square root of x times sine tangent square root of x times Now u equals square root of x. Tangent u prime equals secant squared u times u prime. The inner function is square root of x. The square root of x is x to the power of 1 over 2 equals minus cosine of tangent square root of x times sine of tangent square root of x times secant squared square root of x times x to the power of 1 over 2 prime equals 1 over 2 x to the power of 1 over 2 minus 1 over 2 times x to the power of minus 1 over 2 is 1 over 2 times back to the radical form 1 over square root of x. The final answer is 1 over 2 square root of x. Then back to the original 1 over 2 square root of x. The final answer is minus 1 over 2 square root of x cosine of tangent square root of x times sine of tangent square root of x times secant squared square root of x. Number 3, think of it as u equals square root of cosine of tangent x squared. Y prime equals sine u prime is cosine u times u prime. The inner function is square root of cosine of tangent x squared square root of cosine of tangent x squared. Then we can rewrite as cosine of square root of cosine of tangent x squared times cosine of tangent x squared to the power of 1 over 2 prime. Then cosine square root of cosine of tangent x squared times, now u equals cosine of tangent x squared. Just think of it, u to the power of 1 over 2. Then u to the power of 1 over 2 prime equals 1 over 2 u to the power of 1 over 2 minus 1 times u prime. Then inner function is cosine tangent x squared cosine of tangent x squared equals cosine square root of cosine of tangent x squared times 1 over 2 cosine of tangent x squared to the power of minus 1 over 2 times, now u equals tangent x squared, so cosine u prime equals minus sine u times u prime. Then keep the inner function tangent x squared, tangent x squared. We can rewrite as minus 1 over 2, then cosine square root of cosine of tangent x squared times this one back to radical form 1 over square root of cosine of tangent x squared times sine of tangent x squared times, now x squared equals u, so tangent u prime equals secant squared u times u prime. Then x squared prime equals 2x, so minus 2 is cancelled, then x cosine square root of cosine of tangent x squared over square root of cosine of tangent x squared times sine tangent x squared times secant squared x squared. This is the final answer. Number 4, we can rewrite as sine of cosine to the power of 5 of 3x to the power of 4. Think of it as u is the inner function. So sine of cosine to the power of 5 of 3x. Y prime equals 4 u to the power of 3 times u prime. Inner function is sine of cosine to the power of 5 of 3x. Sine of cosine to the power of 5 of 3x equals 4 sine to the power of 3 of cosine to the power of 5 of 3x times, now u equals cosine to the power of 5 of 3x. So sine u prime equals cosine u times u prime. Keep the inner function. Cosine to the power of 5 over 3x, cosine to the power of 5 over 3x equals 4 sine cubed cosine to the power of 5 over 3x cosine of cosine to the power of 5 over 3x times, we can rewrite as cosine 3x to the power of 5 then prime equals 4 sine to the power of 3 of cosine to the power of 5 3x times cosine of cosine to the power of 5 3x times, now u equals cosine of 3x, so u to the power of 5 prime equals 5u to the power of 4 times u prime, then u is cosine 3x equals 4 times 5 is 20 sine to the power of 3 of cosine to the power of 5 of 3x cosine of cosine to the power of 5 of 3x cosine to the power of 4 of 3x times, now 3x is u, then cosine u prime equals minus sine u times u prime. The inner function u is 3x equals minus 20 sine cubed of cosine to the power of 5 over 3x cosine of cosine to the power of 5 over 3x cosine to the power of 4 3x, then sine 3x times 3x prime equals 3. The final answer is minus 60 sine cubed cosine to the power of 5 3x cosine of cosine to the power of 5 of 3x cosine to the power of 4 of 3x, then sine 3x. Number 5, we can rewrite as tangent 3 theta to the power of 4 over 1 plus secant 3 theta to the power of 4. Use the quotient rule. U over v prime equals u prime v minus uv prime over v squared. Y prime equals tangent 3 theta to the power of 4 prime times 1 plus secant 3 theta to the power of 4 minus tangent 3 theta to the power of 4 times 1 plus secant 3 theta to the power of 4 prime over 1 plus secant 3 theta to the power of 4 squared. Let's first differentiate only the part where the chain rule should be used. The first one, d dx of tangent 3 theta to the power of 4 equals u to the power of 4. So 4u cubed times u prime. The u part is tangent 3 theta, tangent 3 theta equals 4 tangent cubed 3 theta times tangent to u prime equals secant squared u times u prime. So 4 tangent cubed 3 theta times secant squared 3 theta times 3 theta prime equals 3. The final answer is 12 tangent to cubed 3 theta times secant squared 3 theta. This is the second one. d dx of 1 plus secant 3 theta to the power of 4 equals 1 prime is 0. Then this part is u. U to the power of 4 prime equals 4u cubed times u prime. The inner function is secant 3 theta, secant 3 theta equals 4 secant to the power of 3 theta times, now 3 theta equals u, secant u prime equals secant u tangent to u times u prime equals 4 together make secant to the power of 4 of 3 theta times tangent 3 theta times 3 theta prime equals 3. The final answer is 12 secant to the power of 4 of 3 theta times tangent 3 theta. Then back to the original. Y prime equals 12 tangent cubed 3 theta secant squared 3 theta times 1 plus secant to the power of 4 3 theta minus tangent to the power of 4 3 theta times 12 secant to the power of 4 3 theta times tangent 3 theta over 1 plus secant to the power of 4 3 theta squared equals expand 12 tangent cubed 3 theta secant squared 3 theta plus second one 12 tangent cubed 3 theta times secant to the power of 6 3 theta minus this one 12 tangent to the power of 5 3 theta times secant to the power of 4 3 theta over 1 plus secant to the power of 4 3 theta squared. Then take out the common factor, which is 12 tangent cubed 3 theta secant squared 3 theta. Open the bracket. Then 1 plus secant to the power of 4 3 theta minus tangent squared 3 theta times secant squared 3 theta over 1 plus secant to the power of 4 3 theta squared. Now think about the inside of the bracket part. So 1 plus secant to the power of 4 of 3 theta minus tangent squared 3 theta secant squared 3 theta equals 1 plus, take out the common factor, which is secant squared 3 theta times secant squared 3 theta minus tangent squared 3 theta equals 1 plus secant squared 3 theta times this one equals 1. The final answer is 1 plus secant squared 3 theta. Secant squared x equals 1 plus tangent squared x. So secant squared x minus tangent squared x equals 1. If you don't remember, try this way. Sine squared plus cosine squared equals 1. Then divide by cosine squared on each side, like this. Then tangent squared plus 1 equals secant squared x. Then you can use this one. Then back to the original. The final answer is 12 tangent cubed 3 theta secant squared 3 theta times 1 plus secant squared 3 theta over 1 plus secant to the power of 4 3 theta squared. This is the last one. For the tangent line to be horizontal, that means y prime equals 0. Then y prime equals minus sine 2x times 2x prime plus 2 times cosine x equals minus sine 2x times 2 plus 2 cosine x equals minus 2 sine 2x we can rewrite as 2 sine x times cosine x plus 2 cosine x equals, we can factor, take out minus 2 cosine x, then 2 sine x minus 1 equals 0. That means cosine x equals 0 or 2 sine x minus 1 equals 0. That means 2 sine x equals 1. Sine x equals 1 over 2. The first one, cosine x equals 0. Then x equals pi over 2, 3 pi over 2, 5 pi over 2, then keep going. Then general form is x equals pi over 2 plus n pi. N is any integer. Then number 2, sine x equals 1 over 2. Then reference angle is pi over 6. In quadrant 1 and 2, the first one is pi over 6. Then second one is pi minus pi over 6, which is 5 pi over 6. So pi over 6 plus 2n pi, or 5 pi over 6 plus 2n pi. N is any integer. By 1 and 2, the final answer is x equals pi over 2 plus n pi, pi over 6 plus 2n pi, 5 pi over 6 plus 2n pi. Then n is any integer. I hope this video has been helpful. If you have any questions, leave them in a comment below, and I will address them in a future video. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe for more.